सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Almost everything in the world comes with an expiry date. This is as true of what? Vegetables, laddus, packets of butter, as it is true of political platforms and political mandates. After a while, things either go bad or they stop working. Now, Narendra Modi has become such a part of our lives. He's a force of nature. He's been portrayed as the once and forever leader for the last 9 or 10 years, that we never stop to think about his platform. We never stop to think about his mandate. Let's go back a bit in time. I think many of us forget the circumstances in which he first came to power. He first came to power in the last days of the UPA, the last year or so. I don't know if you remember UPA too, but it was a pretty horrific time. New scams were uncovered every day. The Prime Minister had retreated behind a wall and hardly ever spoke in public. The nation seemed leaderless, rudderless. Nobody knew what was happening. Mr. Modi emerged at that time. He had many advantages. He was financially honest. Nobody had ever been able to prove any kind of corruption against him. He was a very strong leader. He was decisive. He had a development record in Gujarat. He was able to talk about development. And at that time of chaos and virtual governmental anarchy, he seemed absolutely right for India. There was a second point to it. The brilliance, I think, of the Modi campaign was that it was able to convert what should have been or could have been a millstone around his neck into an advantage. For years, people had said that Modi would have difficulty becoming Prime Minister because of the Gujarat riots. The brilliance of his campaign was they turned the Gujarat riots and his role, whatever it was, during those riots into an asset. They suggested that his Hindutva antecedents made him different from what had gone before. And it was so brilliantly done that Mr. Modi himself never said anything that was overtly communal. He spoke about development. The subterranean narrative was about Hindutva. So if you were a Hindutva type, of course you voted for him. But even if you weren't, if you were just fed up with the UPA, if you were just wondering which direction this country was headed in, then Mr. Modi was perfect because you could say, forget all the Hindutva stuff. I'm voting for him because of development. And to be fair to Mr. Modi, which many of his critics are not, he did largely keep his promises during that first term. There was development. There were welfare measures. Anarchy in government disappeared. He was a decisive leader. He provided leadership to the country. There were no scams that anybody remembered. So yes, it worked. I think that's why he got a mandate for a second time. And that mandate had something to do with the circumstances of the opposition. He'd won the last election because the Congress had fought the worst campaign in living memory. And once again, Rahul Gandhi, who headed the Congress, chose the wrong slogan. He went on and on about Mr. Modi's financial integrity when Mr. Modi was not worried about that because there'd never really been any reason to doubt his integrity. So given the nature of that campaign, it was clear Mr. Modi was going to win. And then you had Pulwama and Balakot. So it took what was certain to be a victory and turned it into a landslide. So that's the last real mandate Mr. Modi has received, and that's what it was based on. It was based on his decisiveness, on his leadership, his ability to break away from the past, from what he called the sort of arrogance and entitlement of a single family within the Congress. He was a people's leader. Oh, so he told us. Now, Mr. Modi has been such a force of nature, as I said, it's never occurred to us to question, is that original platform still valid? Can he say the things he said 9 years ago with a straight face and expect people to vote for him again? We've never discussed that because Mr. Modi is the most popular leader in India, without a doubt. But in the aftermath of the Karnataka results, at a time of adversity, those questions are being asked again. Basically, has that platform, the platform he was elected on, the platform he's governed on, has that peaked? Has it even reached an expiry date? Is that platform past its sell-by date? There are many reasons for believing that it is. First of all those parallels with the UPA, which Mr. Modi brings up every now and then, work less and less. Yes, maybe there were scams during the UPA, but 9 years later, people don't remember. And if they remember, they don't care. They no longer say that this is the reason for supporting Mr. Modi, because that was so long ago. In terms of development, well, that's a tough one, yes. And it'd be stupid to deny that there's been development. But it's also true, as Karnataka shows us, that Mr. Modi's support tends to be among the better off. The poorer, the people at the bottom of the social pyramid are less enthusiastic about him. That's what Karnataka tells us. That's what all the surveys tell us. That's what the results tell us. So you have to accept that for all that he says about welfare and development, there is at the bottom of our society, and perhaps even higher, a degree of discontentment, a degree of dissatisfaction, whether it's prices, whether it's unemployment. People don't think things are going that well. Nor do they necessarily believe that every BJP leader, no matter how much Mr. Modi campaigns for him, is honest. In Karnataka, corruption turned into an issue, and it was an issue that worked against the BJP, not in favor of the BJP. But there's other things also. After Karnataka, people are looking at the way that campaign was conducted. The BJP still portrays itself as the outsider. If you remember that when Mr. Modi was fighting the Congress in the UPA, he said that he was fighting the Delhi Sultanate. He portrayed himself as the insurgent leader, as the plucky, defiant outsider who'd come in to topple the establishment. Can he still say that? I mean, the BJP is the establishment now. And the BJP is not a sort of shrinking violet. It's taken to power the moment it got it, like a tiger takes the throat of a deer. It's loved it. It has put its influence on every institution of governance. Even if you don't believe, as some say, that it subverted institutions of governance, there is no doubt that it controls them. And yet, when you listen to BJP people talking, they don't seem to realize that people don't see them as outsiders any longer. They don't see them as fighting the establishment. People have worked out that the BJP is the establishment. But the rhetoric has not changed. You hear BJP ministers talking. You see BJP spokespersons on television. There is, even as they claim to be outsiders and attack the Lutyens' establishment, there is so much arrogance. And what is the Lutyens' establishment anyhow? The idea, the term comes from Lutyens' Delhi, which was an architectural term used to describe the new city of Delhi built by Sir Edwin Lutyens. Now, when you talk about Lutyens' Delhi, you talk about the establishment, you talk about people who are in power, people who actually live in those large bungalows in Lutyens' Delhi. Well, for 10 years now, it's not been the Congress. It's not been the people they claim to attack. It's been the BJP. Not only does the BJP dominate Lutyens' Delhi, it's now remodeling it and redecorating it at vast public expense to suit its own tastes. So when BJP spokesmen go on television and they say, this is a Lutyens statement, or they attack Lutyens' Delhi, or Lutyens' Delhi as they would call it, what are they doing? They're attacking themselves. They're attacking their own government, because their government is now the establishment. That is how it's perceived by the people of India. You cannot claim to be the strongest prime minister, the man who rules India, and then say, we're outsiders, there's another establishment. You are the establishment. It's time to face it. And there's also, I think, along with this, a degree of unpleasantness, a degree of arrogance. Mr. Modi used to treat the Gandhis as what? A single family with arrogance and entitlement. Well, isn't that true of the BJP at the moment? Look at all these BJP ministers. Look at the arrogance. It's now got to a situation where it is impossible for a senior BJP minister to take any criticism without resorting to attacks, aggression, and abuse. That's how all of them react. When there are actual demands, when there are victims, like say the wrestlers who are protesting, who say they were sexually harassed, the arrogance in the responses of the government, the way in which they're dismissed by the government and by the government's house-trained media, doesn't come across as a sensitive government, doesn't come across as outsiders fighting the establishment, comes across as an arrogant and aloof establishment. Let's take the case of a foreign minister, an outstanding diplomat. He's been, I think, an outstanding success as India's foreign minister. We could have got into trouble over our Ukrainian policy, but our policy towards Ukraine has kept oil flowing from Russia, and yet we haven't antagonized the United States. That's a huge achievement. Yet, when you see him at public forums and you listen to him, it's not that brilliance that comes across. He's talking like a member of this government. There's arrogance, there's aggression, there's belligerence. He's snarling like some Shaka Pramukh, not like the great diplomat he really is. It's become the lingua franca of this government. That's how they talk, with contempt, with arrogance, with entitlement, with aggression. Can you really talk like that and then say we're outsiders, we're fighting an establishment? It beggars belief. So when you look at the edifice from the outside, and people are doing that in the aftermath of Karnataka, you recognize that it's not really the super strong edifice we sometimes think it is. Yes, Mr. Modi is India's most popular leader, but the BJP does not rule India. The BJP is still perceived as a North Indian party, and in North India it's very strong. In UP it's like all powerful. But there are problems elsewhere. It's never made any headway really in Punjab. It was thrashed in Karnataka, which was this one bastion in the south. The rest of South, it means nothing. It was thrashed by Mamata Banerjee in Bengal. It's in power in Maharashtra, not after electoral victory, but by breaking the Shiv Sena. It's in power in Madhya Pradesh, not after electoral victory, but by breaking the Congress. Bihar has slipped out of its grasp. It has relatively few states. Some of them, I think, are outstanding achievements. I think what they've achieved in Assam under this chief minister is something nobody thought possible. But UP and Assam, with similar strong chief ministers, are not enough to make the BJP a great all-India phenomenon. So that, I think, is the problem. The problem is that BJP is still fighting elections on a platform that's about to expire. I don't think it realizes this. If you look at the Karnataka election, it went on and on with old slogans and old approach, old tricks, old stratagems, till it realized they weren't working. And there's this bit in the BJP legend, which all BJP people will tell you is passed into folklore. It is that when things are going wrong, when a campaign is going badly, never worry. Mr. Modi will come, and he is such an outstanding campaigner that he will turn the election around, he will turn the electorate around only on the strength of his rhetoric. Didn't work, no? It didn't work in Bengal. It hasn't worked in Karnataka. And perhaps Mr. Modi also realized that, because by the end, there was a desperate edge to the BJP campaign. They were raising Hindu-Muslim issues. Even Mr. Modi had decided not to waste too much time talking about development. It was all Jai Bajrang Bali and suggestions that the Congress was anti-Hindu. You don't do that if you're in a strong position. You don't fall back on prejudice, on bigotry, on communal hatred, unless you're desperate. I don't want to overstate my case. The BJP is powerful. If an election was held tomorrow, Mr. Modi would win. But here's what I mean. I think that the platform that he was elected on is now running out of steam. I think with each passing month, it seems less and less appropriate to what the BJP has become. Because the BJP, frankly, has become what it once opposed. It needs to look out. It needs to deliver, get some kind of detachment and look for a new platform. It needs to find something else that it stands for, because the old stuff no longer makes any sense. Will it? I don't know. I think one of the problems when you're in power and you're so powerful and you're so high up is that underlings will tell you only what you want to hear. And once you've neutered the media, as they have done, you're not going to get any genuine feedback from there either. So Mr. Modi can, I think, still turn it around. And presumably he will, because he's a very, very shrewd politician. And if he doesn't, then here's what we're looking at. We're looking at a BJP victory at the next election, I think. As of now, it doesn't seem possible that the Congress will get its act together or that the opposition will. But we are looking after that victory at that mandate slowly disappearing. And we're looking at the weakening of the BJP. Mr. Modi will realize this, I think. He's sharp, he's shrewd, and he will change things. He's bright enough to know that an expiry date is approaching. And even if he'd missed it in all the sycophancy surrounding him, after Karnataka, he'll realize things need to change.